Well, hello and good morning, everyone. It has been a little bit, and I am happy, extremely happy to be here in a new place, a new address, new environment, um, to be able to bring you a new mic drop. And it has been a couple of people. I wanted to reach out and say a few things before I actually started talking about what I wanted to talk about today. But two things in particular. All of you that continually pour out love and are still talking to me about this conversation, um, new things that Middlebury entitlement schools are still doing that are corrupt, fighting the good fight, trying to stand up for those that don't have a voice. You guys are awesome. You are all stars, every single one of you. If you have ever been inspired by anything at all that you've heard me say to go and advocate for someone who has a problem or trouble, or it's challenging to advocate for themselves, you've won. You win. That's how you do it. And if we have, enough people doing that around the entire world, we win. Like that's compassion annihilation right there, and its finest. It's literally killing every bad thing with kindness. So you guys are great, and you inspire me, and you give me hope every single day. And so I wanted to thank you. The second thing I wanted to address is a little bit more rumor mongering, and I heard a couple of my insiders, I guess you could say. They said that Mike hasn't done a mic drop in a while because now he's afraid to say anything else. And I started laughing when somebody had informed me that that was a rumor that was going around. It's like, oh, he's no longer here, so he no longer cares, or he's no longer here, so he no longer does videos. I'll tell you something. I am the exact same professional that I was when I started day one at Fort Wayne Community Schools at R. Nelson Snyder. I am the same professional that I was day one when I started at Middlebury Community Schools before I found out how entitled it was. And it's the exact same professional I am when I started at my new job. I pour every single thing I have into the kids that I'm serving all the time. And when you move 2 states away and you have an entirely new educational system to learn, and you have an entirely new school dynamic to learn. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. To compare the 3 schools that I've been a school counselor at, 2 of them were traditional high schools. I'm in an alternative learning center. It's not exactly the same as alternative school. But let's just say the dynamics of the schools are completely different. Student populations are different. What you do in the school is different. What the goal of the programs are. It's unique. It's designed for the kids that don't fit the system. And look at me when I tell you this, because I don't lie. I love it. I absolutely love it. These are some of the most challenging students, the most challenging stories and backgrounds that I've ever faced as a counselor, and I'm only 2 months in. And I'm loving it. I love my kids. I love what they've been through. I don't love what they've been through. I love that they are surviving after some of the stuff that they've been through. It's amazing. It's the same types of inspiring stories that I heard out of the marginalized kids at Middlebury Community Schools. That 5 to 10% of the kids that they don't care about, and they would rather pretend would disappear. That's kind of the majority of the population that I work with right now in this new setting. Kids that struggle to fit a system that is outdated, needs to be updated for sure. And that's what I want to talk about today as kind of my message in the mic drop. But I'm telling you guys this just so that you're aware. And so when this is a psychological trick. This is something that corrupt establishments, governments, anything that wants to keep their own power, this is a practice that they do. They will use the silence in between advocacies to argue that that person is no longer relevant, or we're over that, or we've made our changes, so that's no longer an issue, yada yada yada. They'll use the silence as a weapon. Kids, families, y'all, let me tell you something about silence, okay? It is one of the absolute most effective strategies to upset people that are really trying to get under your skin. You know, we've said this for years as school counselors, that when you are, bullied in school, a lot of what the bully would like is a reaction to feed whatever is broken inside of them. And if you do not feed that, they hunger still and they go elsewhere. And it's kind of the truth here, still in adulthood. Like, my life has transitioned beyond the corruption that was Middlebury entitlement schools, and is now focused on loving those that survived Middlebury entitlement schools and their families over the course of the decade that the corruption just was terrible. And I don't change who I am. I am the same who I was when I started, and I'll be the same when I finish. I will give every ounce of my energy to the kids that I am serving right now. And that's exactly what's going on, y'all. Now, a couple other things I want to throw out there, just so you know. There's some big things happening for me. And I looked, and I had a video that I'd uploaded for September 2nd. And I haven't checked on the mic drop in a while because, like I said, new school year, you pour a lot into learning. I've got a lot of stuff that I need to learn. So I didn't really check it, and it didn't post. Like, I uploaded it and everything, and it was ready to go. So I may either redo that video and repost it, or I may just kind of give you some of the highlights. And right now, a few of the highlights are some of the big changes that have happened in my life. One of them being, I'm in a brand new apartment, in a brand new place. I am still located in and around kind of the St. Louis area of Missouri. And you guys should know, and, some people, ask, why did you move out to Missouri? You guys will understand this if you've ever had to travel for the holidays, okay? St. Charles, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis, and is where my family has kind of been for as long as I've been alive. Anytime we would go to Christmas and we had to drive to Grandma's house on my mom's side, we're going to St. Louis. If we're going to my dad's side, it's Springfield. So I have been back and forth from this area over the course of 40 years countless times. There's sometimes that this area feels more like home than Indiana ever did. So that's good for me because I feel at home in both places. I feel a little bit more at home recently in Indiana because that's where I spend most of my time. But coming back home was like, you know that feeling when it's, when you're a kid and it's Christmas and you're driving to Grandma's house and the family gets together there. You're in auntie's house or somebody in the family's house. Y'all get together. That was my this place. So, a couple people have asked me if I would ever move back, and I have. I actually thought about that because at first I'm like, no. Indiana had, 2 of my 4 decades, and I'm happy to kind of put that in, in my past. But there's still, there's a scene out of Rocky Balboa, which is technically Rocky 6 before Creed started, and he was just talking to. I think he was talking to his son in the movie about, he's way past retirement age and way past boxing, and his mind and his body is in no shape to do it. And he just looks at his son and he goes, I got some stuff still rattling around in here. And everybody looks at him like he's crazy. Like, what do you mean stuff? Like, you can collect, on Social Security at this point. You want to get into a boxing ring? He's just like, I got to do what I got to do, And that, even though it's a fictional character, every single one of us has had something in here when we've had to move beyond something, either out of necessity, out of, fear for our lives, out of the hope of a positive transition, that you just kind of forget. It's a little bit abstract, but I'm saying all that to say this. If you don't hear from me, that's only because I'm helping children. with every fiber of my being. And I'm taking the self-care afterwards to make sure I can do that every single day. I did it for 8 years straight when I was at Northridge. I did it for the both years I was at Fort Wayne Community Schools. I'm not going to change. I don't. Not when it comes to children. Because they all deserve an advocate. They all deserve a loud advocate. So, to that end, to squash some of the rumors, while I may not have any plans to move back to Indiana, there may still be some stuff rattling around in here that may bring me back that way, either professionally or personally. I'm not writing it off yet. Let's just say that it's in there, but don't ask me about it. It's not something in my life that I'm giving the forefront of my attention to. I've got, like I said, I've got new kids here that need the best of me that I have every single day. So, rumors squashed. Moving on to a better message. Not only have I changed address, the apartment that I have now it's beautiful. I don't know how else to describe it. For the better part of the 4 decades that I've been alive, I tend to avoid going outside more than I like to go outside. And it's not because of anything that has to do with like temperature or weird, so for me it's bugs, y'all. Like, I don't know if you've looked into your blood type and whether or not it is attractive to mosquitoes, but I found that O blood is some of the most, if not the most attractive blood to mosquitoes. So whenever I go outside, whenever I would open a door or a window that doesn't have a screen to enjoy the outside weather, I invite a host of mosquito bites that take me weeks to get over. And that's kind of how it's always been. So you should know that this is probably a big change for me. I'm content in my place where I can control the the temperature and that kind of stuff too. But every single day that I have been in this new place, and I just moved here a couple weeks ago, and shout out to my family, Mom Denise Mollahan, my father Larry Dale Mollahan Jr., my brothers Sean Patrick Mollahan. That's how you have to say it because it's actually he's the most Irish of us. And David James Mollahan, because every single one of you stepped up in this time of transition and helped me make my new place a home instead of just a place to live. My family lit, y'all, and I'm happy for them. They're very, very supportive. But I've had the door open. I've got this patio here. I'll kind of slide over and show you a little bit. I've got this patio that just sits here, and the door's open. It's like 56 degrees right now, and it's just kind of, and the leaves are blowing, and it's not. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've never had access to this. Like, I've had patios before, I've had decks before, I've had stuff like that. Never in my life have I been sitting in what I would call my man cave living room type area and had the windows open to enjoy the natural weather versus the artificial weather. So that's a big change for me. But this new apartment has it so that I can do that, which is actually pretty cool. I'm still moving in, so I'm not going to show you the rest because it's still kind of a little bit in disarray. But you should know my life has continued and will still continue to continue. I'm transitioning. I'm moving. And two of the big highlights that I wanted to say in the September 2nd video, I will tell you now, just so you know them, and if I can find a way to go into them a little bit deeper or maybe just do a different message altogether on them. This will be the next part of my journey, and I'm not stagnant. I'm not going to sit in place and let the world continue to be the way that it is if there's something I can do to improve it, especially for children, because they don't have a voice a lot of the time. We're lucky that our children in this country have more of a voice than children that are considered property all across the world. I'm so thankful we live in a country that can actually have that. It doesn't make it easy, but comparatively, especially with the atrocities that are going around the world right now, I will say this: I'm grateful that I have the ability to educate, advocate, and help children learn in a country where children aren't routinely afraid for their lives. Now, some of y'all can challenge me on that, and I'm completely fine with that. This is my truth, remember? This is my experience. It's my way of looking at the world. It's my worldview. And I will continually be thankful for a country that will at least protect us long enough to teach our kids. Now, we can debate left and right about what we're teaching our kids and in what form we're teaching our kids and how we're teaching our kids. But the fact that we can educate our kids without the kids routinely being afraid for their lives from anything around them, I'm grateful for. I'm actually thankful for. But I'm not done. So here are two big things. Apart from the big move and the transition, that was one of the big three that was going on. Two other big things have happened. The first is probably what my evolution as a counselor will end up being. I have decided, and I've already paid for it, and so between the dates of September 17th, which was a month ago, and March, I think that's right, 17th, I'm going to sit for the National Counselor's Examination. It's also abbreviated the NCE. Why would you sit for another test, Malahan? Well, I would like to become a therapist that can do a little bit more with the kids that I want to serve than what public education is allowing. We'll just put it like that. And it has nothing to do with an agenda. It has nothing to do with not wanting oversight. It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's the fact that public education is, it's got some challenges, y'all. And the politics that are inherent within all public education right now are choking the life out of teachers, counselors, even administrators. The poor students, they've already had to survive a worldwide pandemic and a loss of 2 years of direct instruction. It's the challenges for education, for educating students right now in the public education setting are enormous. And if it were just a big mountain of challenges to do what's best for kids, bro, I would be a Sherpa. All right? I would be one of those guys leading everybody up that mountain as safely and as possibly as I could. I would have traveled that mountain 9,000 times. That's what I would be. But it's not. It's not a mountain of kid-centered problems. It's a mountain of corrupt political policy. It's a mountain of how do we keep our doors open because we're no longer getting the funding that we should, so maybe we need to do some things that are slightly underhanded or under the table so that we can keep our doors open. That happens. In my experience and in many staff members of Northridge High School under principal leadership of Drew Wood were gaslighted into believing that they were the problem. They were manipulated into thinking that it was time for them to leave because he made sure that their job was so hellacious and so unlivable that they would want to quit. So he wouldn't have to go through all of the paperwork of actually firing a teacher. And I don't know for how long that he did it, but I know a lot of people that he did it to because they've reached out to me. They still talk with me. I get to be a support for them. I get to be an advocate for them. They get to be an advocate for me. It's a beautiful thing. Which, before I get into my last kind of big transition, there's something very particular I want to say about Drew Wood. Drew Wood is no longer the principal at Northridge High School of Middlebury Entitlement Schools. He, on paper, resigned due to medical reasons. Now, I'm not one to call anybody else a liar unless I know it, and then I will call them out loudly. I have been praying for Drew Wood's health for the better part of a decade. Before he screwed me over, he was like my best friend. He was an educational mentor. He was a spiritual mentor. Yeah. So I've been, and he's had a whole host of physical ailments and maladies the entire 10 years that I've known him. He's been fighting a lot of stuff. So I don't doubt at all that Drew Wood resigned for medical reasons. I think that is 100% accurate. I don't think that's the only reasons. I believe that just like myself, when my health got to the point where it deteriorated to the point of suicidal ideation, my health necessitated that I resign from my position because I couldn't put up with what they were trying to get me to do constantly. So I want to say this. When I heard that Drew Wood had resigned, I had two immediately very strong feelings, and they were diametrically opposed to each other. One of them was gratefulness, relief, gratitude, thankfulness, all of the stuff that I had been advocating for against the corruption in Middlebury entitlement schools that surrounded him and what he had did to me and others. I let out the biggest sigh of relief. And at the same time, I got sad, and I started to tear up again. I was sitting in the library of Northridge High School during one of the first few years that Drew Wood was the principal there, and he had allowed the staff, the assistant principal at the time, to share a physical ailment that he had got diagnosed with, and it hit me so hard. I started crying in the middle of a faculty meeting and had to leave. That's how much I've loved Drew Wood as a, just in so many different ways. And when you've been betrayed and hurt by someone that you trust so much, it's hard to have pure emotions. It's hard to have emotions that make sense, that don't like interact with each other and make things just like rah. I know that's a very complex counselor term, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So I texted him. And you guys should know, I've reached out to Drew Wood probably a half a dozen times since the entire, Middlebury entitlement school saga dropped. He hasn't replied to any of them. I don't know if he can or cannot. He's no longer working for Middlebury entitlement schools, so the ban that they have on their staff members and faculty members, and a warning they sent out to the kids about, you might not want to talk to Mr. Malahan now. He's an unsavory character or something along those lines. I forget. There were so many colorful terms about what happens when Middlebury decides you're no longer good for the school, and they decide to assign you a bunch of reasons why no one should talk to you. It's fun to read about the next day, for sure. But when I got the news that he resigned, I texted him again. And I said, I just heard the news that you're no longer the principal. And I'm very relieved to hear that, for many reasons. But one of those is that I pray that you have time to heal. I pray for your health to improve. I hope that you recover from every physical malady that is ailing you right now, 100% completely. And I mean it. And you'll know why because of what I said next. I said, because you still have a lot of years left on this earth, and you have a lot of work to do to make up to the people's lives that you helped destroy. And if you've forgotten who they are, or you don't know who they are, all you have to do is ask, because they talk to me routinely. We're supports for each other. Even current employees of Middlebury entitlement schools, regardless of how they feel they could get in trouble for it, are still reaching out to me to share with me the corrupt practices that are still going on. Those are warriors, y'all. I love you guys. But I told Mr. Wood, I hope he recovers 100% completely, because you need to spend the next years of your life, however long you have, making it up to those people. And I don't care if he ever makes it up to me. I'm going to move on. I've moved on. I mean, look, I didn't stop in my pursuit of what impassions me. I didn't let the corrupt practices of Drew Wood and Northridge High School and Middlebury Community Schools change me from who I was, even though they tried for years to turn me into more of the politically polite, whatever they wanted me to be, instead of what was best for the kids. And I mean it to this day still. So Drew, if you're watching, because I know that you like to, I know you like to know what is being said about you. So if you're watching, look at me in the eyes, and I mean it. I pray for your recovery every day. I really do. I'm not going to stop. I don't change because people screw me over. I don't change who I am because people want to use me for their own reasons. I don't. I've got a God that tells me who I am every single day. He's a lot stronger than the people of this planet. And I'm going to listen to him a little bit more than I'm going to listen to anybody else, especially people who have proven they wanted selfish things from me. So, we'll move beyond that. Because there's one last thing that I wanted to be able to share with you guys. And this was probably the main part of the September 2nd video. It was a celebration. And I'm going to leave this mic drop on a celebratory note because I have stuff to celebrate. And in a brief story, I will end my mic drop with this. When I was 18 years old, and I graduated high school, my and I love Kent DeConnick wherever he is. He was a fantastic school counselor at Westfield High School when I was there, and made it so that my transition 2 states away was not that bad. My conversations to what I wanted to do after high school were not that intelligent. It was, do you want to work? No. Do you want to go to college? Not really. Which one do you want to do least? Work? Okay, let's go to college. And that was part of the process that led me in there. So since that decision and since going to IU, I have taken on college loan debt. And I always had a plan to pay it off because, it's just the right thing to do. So if you're going to take on a debt, pay it off. And so I've been working fastidiously and diligently in public education for as long as I have, because it's a program that would allow me to get my college loans forgiven. Now, student loans are making national news right now because of everything that's going on. And my story, while is a part of that, is also adjacent to it because I'm not exactly wrapped up in that hoopla. As of September 2nd, I had officially worked and paid my 120th payment that I needed for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. To give you guys a very short idea of what that is, the government, if you have your loans educationally through the government, will forgive them if you choose to work in either a public type of environment, could be school or police, firefighting, whatever as a public entity, or non-for-profits. And if you do that for 10 years and you make 10 monthly, 10 years worth of monthly payments, you get to 120. Mine was on September 1st. We are now on October 14th, the day after Friday the 13th. And I'm here to tell you, kids, I hit my 120 payments. And last I checked, the college loan debt that I had accrued ever since I was 18, so a 22-year battle. The most recent total was $139,000 plus. Not quite 140, but 139,000 and change. Y'all, I bought my house for 128,000 in Elkhart. So that should tell you how long I've been dealing with this particular debt on my shoulders. As of that day, I submitted a form to the government to have $139,000 worth of college loans canceled and forgiven. I could not tell you the relief that I felt when I saw that 120th payment actually register on Mohila's website. I took a picture of it. And I said, there it is. That's the 120th payment. I'm done. I'm out. I am free from college loan debt. And a lot of people ask right away, like, oh, does that mean you're leaving public education? No, I'm not. I signed a contract. I'm going to finish my contract. And here's the thing. Public education is what needs fixed. That is where our kids are getting let down the most. And it's not from passionate teachers that are in there trying to make and change the lives of children. It's not for supportive administrators who can recognize the differences between what the political environment of education is and what the actual students need in order to become lifelong learners. There's a lot of work to be done in this broken system that I'm not leaving anytime soon. The way that I go about doing it may evolve over time as I add new things that I can do or I can't, but there's a war going on right now for the hearts, the souls, the minds, and the identities of our children within the school systems all over the country. If you know anything about me, you know this. My heart does not beat as powerfully in advocacy for any other population on this planet than children. And I won't change. So one way or another, I'm going to be me doing all this. But I'm going to do it with a lot less debt over my shoulders as of a month ago. I haven't gotten it forgiven yet, so I'm throwing that all out there because of the national stuff that's going on with public education and or student loans and all that stuff. There's a huge backlog of people that are trying to get their information in and updates because student loans resumed. Mine was already done and ready to go. It's just got caught in the backlog of everything else that's going on, which is fine for me because I love where I'm at. And it's got its challenges, sure. It's public education. Public education, while let's just say that there needs to be some evolution in public education, especially for the way that our kids are learning in this millennium. And if I have something I can do about that, I will. But you guys should know, I'm a lot more dangerous is the wrong term. When Michael Jackson did his song Bad, I was a kid and that came out. I didn't understand because when you're a kid, you're told that being bad is wrong. Don't be bad. You should be a good kid. Be a good kid. Don't be bad. And I saw this cool dude showing up in leather saying who's bad? And I'm like, Michael Jackson, does your mom not, are you a bad kid? Did you get punished in timeout a lot? What's going on, man? Then I find out later that a bad man is someone that you probably don't want to mess with. And so I'm going to tell you something real quick that I found out about myself after all of this that I had survived. I'm a bad man. When you are a highly educated, self-reflective, self-advocate, and you know how things are supposed to be done, and you feel how things should be done, and they agree, you're a bad man. And that's good. Which I know some of y'all's like, what did you just do? Trust me, y'all. When you have become educated, believe it or not, the actual, school motto of Northridge High School, inspiring students to shape the world, or if that's Middlebury's, whatever, something like that, that's ironically the truest of the statements that I could possibly think about for what I would want to do for my kids. I would want to inspire students to go and shape the world. Because right now, look around at the world. There's a lot that needs fixed. There's a lot that needs help. There's a lot of people that need loved, that have lost that feeling of what it's like to be loved by even their neighbor. Our sense of community has almost disappeared in the wake of this pandemic, and it's not getting any better. But that's no reason to give up. And I don't give up. And I don't change. I evolve. I grow. I become more powerful than you can possibly imagine if you're a Star Wars fan. I'm going to continue to educate myself. I'm going to continue to get smarter. I'm going to continue to advocate. I'm going to continue to be a loud presence for all those who do not have a voice. And I'm only getting started, y'all. So that's what I'll leave you with. I know I try to keep these around 30 minutes. This one's a little bit longer, but you know what? It's It's been a minute since I talked to y'all, so I wanted to make sure I caught you up to date. And here's some things that are on the horizon. When I take my test, when I actually get the National Certified Counseling title, I will come on here again, and believe me, there will be lots of celebration. Because I'm going to tell you guys the last thing I want you to keep in your heart. If you've managed to stay with me this entire time, this is the most important thing. My victory over student loan debt was something that I had intended to share while I was at Northridge High School with the families, the administrators, the other counselors, the teachers, and every other person that had been a part of my educational professional journey during the entirety of the time they do that. I planned on celebrating with all of you. I even told some of my kids towards those last couple of years, I said, hey, when I get that college loan debt, finally forgiven, I'll let everybody know. And I may throw some kind of celebratory online event where everybody could get in and do something like that. And it hurt a little bit to have lost the ability to do that in person, which I don't like to admit, because people, when somebody does something to you and they try to hurt you, like putting a trespass on you so you can't come and cheer at your kids at their own graduation, even though they gave you a graduation ticket and invited you. When they try to hurt you, you generally don't try to show any type of pain or you can't hurt me or something like that. Bro, y'all, I'm real. I've told you every single thing that has hurt me and the ways in which it hurts me. I'm not keeping all that to myself. So I'm going to tell you this right now. I had envisioned a day of going into school and just celebrating with all my kids. Talking to them in the library and saying hey, hard work really does pay off. After a 20-year journey, I was able to get my debt forgiven. So if I can do it, kids, you can do it too. Now, I never advocate to take on college loans if you don't have to, but if you do have to, and you want to make that jump, here's a success story of how to get it forgiven. I was very excited to be able to share that, especially with some of my seniors at the time. And that was taken from me because of an insecure, corrupt establishment in Middlebury Community Schools. They don't like what I have to say, so they put a lock on all of their doors and said, you're no longer allowed to play. I thought we tried to graduate that type of kindergarten mentality out of people before they get to a school board, but like I said, there's a lot in this world that is screwed up. So it did hurt. And I was a little bit sad. But then I remembered I have a mic drop channel. And I told everybody when I had gotten through the transition of moving into my new place and gotten the school year started and kind of got a little bit of lay of the land, there was going to be an increased uptick in the mic drop videos. So that's coming, y'all. I'm going to study for my test. I'm taking it. I'm passing it. I'm going to get that certification. And then I'm going to have a little bit more free time to what I'm going to do that I'm calling unleashed advocacy. And it'll be fun. It'll be challenging, but it'll be fun. But I do everything out of love. Every single thing I do. I ask a question that Pastor Anley Standy of North Point Church in Georgia taught years ago and still to this day does. He says when you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror, ask yourself one question. What does love require of me today? And I ask myself that every day. When I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling happy, when I'm feeling like I can't get out of bed and do this one more day, I just ask myself a question. What does love require of me? And love requires of me to get up every day with every single ounce of my strength and advocate for those that don't have a voice. And it's centered around children. Because there's been a war for the souls, the minds, and hearts of our kids going on long before I was born in this world. And it's probably going to continue long after. I pray it doesn't. I'm going to leave you with that. So thank you for tuning in to the 40-minute episode of the Mic Drop in this point, and I will be having a couple more videos coming probably relatively soon. So know that I love you all. Your support means more to me than I'm able to put into words, and I know a lot of words, so thank you. Please keep it up. And for those that continually to reach out and are, asking me for help or for advocacy and seeking guidance and all that stuff, keep doing it. I'm not going anywhere. If you can get a hold of me and you need help and you need advocated for, reach out. I know a lot of you already have, but I'm just saying, if you hear anybody that's still in that same type of boat, in that trouble, give them my info, bro. I'll advocate for anybody that needs advocated for. I don't care. So, I love you guys. This is a positive message with a lot of info, and it's been a long time coming. So, I'm happy to send this out to you guys. Hopefully it inspires you to continue to fight through what you're fighting through, and I will talk to you soon. I'm your host, Mike from the Mic Drop, the Mike with the most, the guy with the most jokes, and hopefully will continue to be your favorite host. I love you, and we out.